Hi guys, my name is Jasmine Brickey and this presentation is going to cover Russian drug policy. So to start out, I'm going to give a brief history on Russia so we can see how they kind of led to their beliefs regarding drug policy. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Russia became open to world trade. During this world trade, many countries began trafficking drugs into Russia with hopes of introducing new products. With many new drugs, especially heroin, becoming highly available, Russia began to also have an increase in IV drug-related diseases from the heroin use, such as hepatitis, HIV, and TB. With many of these illegal substances coming from Western nations, as well as the current generation in Russia having a more negative view on Western culture, many of their drug policies deferred from Western treatments, rehabilitations, and so on and so forth, and led to a more criminal-based approach to drug policy. Here's a figure showing the process of drug trafficking into Russia during 2013. As you can see, many countries known for their production of drug-related substances, such as Latin America, send products to Western Asia and Eastern Europe. These countries producing substances on their own are then able to transport substances across the Russian border. The most probable substance in Russia is considered Afghan heroin, which, as you can see, Afghanistan plays a major role in the drug trafficking routes, shown primarily by the green arrows. Mark Galeotti, in his publication regarding the Russian drug crisis in 2016, discussed the country's views on drugs and addiction. In Russia, addiction is viewed primarily as a moral deficiency rather than a medical issue, as more common in Western cultures such as the United States. The belief being that individuals make the initial choice to use the illegal substances, and therefore it is their own fault they have become addicted. Due to trafficking primarily coming from the West, Russians believe that their drug problem stems from influences on Western culture, which drives them away from Western methods of drug treatment, such as rehabilitation, substance substitution, for instance, methadone. Drug policies are therefore law enforcement based and focus on supply reduction, as discussed in one of the previous lectures. In the reading from class, Understanding National Drug Policy, supply reduction is described as a method designed to limit access to illicit drugs through activities aimed at cultivation, production, and targeting drug trafficking. Here's a statement given by one of Russia's head drug policymakers, Edward Babian. Those suffering from drug and alcohol addiction violate societal moral standards on purpose, voluntarily bringing themselves to the state of sickness. That's why society's actions toward these people cannot be the same as actions on medical assistance to other categories of patients. We can see how one of Russia's key politicians represents their cultural values and law enforcement-based drug policy. Now that we've talked about the culture and history a little bit, let's dive into more of the specific issues that their drug policies try to address. Many drug policies developed in Russia aim to target the supply and demand of these substances, as well as decreasing the overall rate of disease spread through the substance use. Galeotti reported in 2016 that 6% of Russians were active drug users, with 90% of these individuals currently using or previously using heroin. Due to heroin being one of the largest threats, many policies do target and aim Afghan heroin, as previously mentioned. Galacherko and Chu in 2018 reported that over time, many in-place drug policies have been reformed due to violating human rights and due to corruption within the criminal justice system applying these drug policies. To combat the Russian drug crisis, Russia developed the Federal Drug Control Service, also referred to as FSKN. The group's primary function was to control trafficking and drug abuse within Russia. Galeotti discussed how FSKN was often found to transfer money from several different budgets, such as their outreach budget, in order to obtain strong criminal justice systems, such as highly trained SWAT teams, high-grade weapons, etc. The outreach budget, in return, is shortened, and drug rehab treatments and education are usually not available. FSKN promotes short-term treatments, such as detox, versus long-term treatments, such as rehabilitation. If individuals were to want access to a rehab, the closest one would often be too far away for use. Policies that are made tend to be more retrograde, meaning they move backwards in their efforts instead of moving forward in efforts to control drug issues and policy goals. Here's a picture of the FSKN in 2016. Many pictures, when you do search the group, tend to be more military based and have a very threatening appearance to them. Some regulations under the FSKN control include that of the methadone ban. Methadone is a common substance used in the United States and other Western cultures and Western Europe to help those addicted to drugs detox from opioid use. It is an opioid itself, but does not contain harmful chemicals and effects of opioids, such as heroin, and allows for patients to ease off of opioids rather than suffer severe withdrawal symptoms. Regardless of scientific studies, the Russian government sees methadone as a threat to the opioid crisis and has received scrutiny from the United Nations in statements regarding methadone as a purposeless substance. Many non-government organizations have played a crucial role in providing help to those who lack access to treatments by providing clean syringes, Narcans, and even at times a place to stay. However, due to disapproval by the Russian government, these non-government organizations are often shut down due to lack of funding and support. One law initiated by FSKN in 2013 was passed allowing any addict to be detained for 30 days regardless of any criminal action such as drug possession or theft. As mentioned, due to lack of treatment options for individuals, many communities have formed organizations to help those around them. Here's an example of one organization within Russia.
Что касается эпидемии ВИЧ-инфекции в России, она продолжает развиваться. По оценкам UNAIDS, эта цифра может приближаться к 1 миллиону или 1,5 миллиона. Правительство российское, оно не предпринимает буквально вообще никаких шагов для профилактики ВИЧ-инфекции.
Либо болезнь и заносит себе грязь, наш пользуется старыми шприцами.
В Москве, например, да, сейчас работает только один проект снижения вреда, это наш проект.
Миссия нашей организации – это способствовать развитию гуманной наркополитики, основанной на соблюдении прав человека и достоинства человека.
Фонд Андрея Рылькова помогает людям выжить.
Мы можем делать программу иглы и шприцев в Москве, несмотря на то, что 15 лет нам твердили о том, что это невозможно, но мы это делаем.
Я работаю непосредственно outreach-работником, раздаю шприцы и устанавливаю связь с людьми.
Для меня ценно помогать людям.
Провожу тренинги там по передозам, по ВИЧ. Я помню, как снижение вреда помогло мне, и, возможно, не будь в моей жизни снижения вреда, меня как бы не было бы уже здесь.
У нас ситуация постнадежда, пост какое-то сопротивление. Мы не пытаемся там поставить себя в оппозицию с правительством. Все, что мы хотим, это защищать жизни своих друзей. Все. Кого мы можем своими руками вытащить, того мы будем вытаскивать.
Golocherko and Chu discussed in their 2018 study that though a law enforcement-based system, there has been progress in the last 10 years in Russian drug policy. In 2010, Russia's chief narcologist created a 4-level system known as social pressure. The main goals of the social pressure system included relieving law enforcement agencies and increasing treatment for individuals addicted to substances. The first step in social pressure involves the early detection of substance use by using methods such as drug testing in work and school environments. The second step includes voluntary treatment to be expressed and initiated by the individual using the substances. The third step is a compulsory treatment by referral from the criminal justice system. The final step to social pressure, if 1 through 3 do not go as planned, involves compulsory treatment within the criminal justice system, which includes the individual serving jail time. In 2013, social pressure was implemented as a state policy. In order to implement this policy, however, many current drug policies in place and regulations had to be changed to allow for rehabilitation and treatment without criminal charges. Though the system was implemented, it did not lead to the expected outcomes. The system was not largely adapted by health institutions across Russia, once again, leaving those that live far away having to drive large distances to access a treatment option. Only 2% of convicted drug offenders underwent treatment, and only 1% of individuals that were forced to undergo treatment remained drug-free. In 2017, due to the inability to achieve the outcomes, a conference was held to help spread the use and initiate the use, in most cases, of the system to all health institutions within Russia. The system was also expanded to incorporate problem alcohol users. However, the system remained primarily discriminatory against heroin users and other IV drug users. In 2012, the state counter-narcotics strategy was implemented based on the 1988 UN Convention discussed in class. The main purpose of this strategy was to decrease the drug supply and demand, as well as control drug trafficking on the western and southern borders of Russia. Individuals caught in drug trafficking would be given a life sentence, and all materials and properties would be confiscated relating to their drug trafficking business and/or situation. So, though only few treatment options are available, why are the ones available not being used? Well, there are several factors, including distrust in the medical and law enforcement industries. In order to obtain treatment options, the individuals addicted to drugs must go into the National Drug Addict Registry. Sarang, Rhodes, Shion, and Page, in their 2010 published article, discuss how the Addict Registry within Russia affects human rights. Many individuals are unable to obtain or maintain employment once their name is on the Addict Registry. Similar to the Sex Offender Registry in the United States, the Addict Registry within Russia is used commonly by employers to see who they are employing beforehand. However, the issue with the Addict Registry is it is not always accurate. Many individuals, once they become clean and are no longer considered an addict by Russian standards, their name still is kept on the registry for a period of time. Since the Addict Registry is also public knowledge, this also leads to strong social stigma to any individual addicted to a substance, negatively affecting whether or not they get treatment or help from individuals in their community. Treatment options that are available in Russia are scientifically proven to be ineffective and have high relapse rates. Other countries are still focusing on getting Russia to legalize methadone and other treatments that are not used. In regards to corruption, law enforcement has been known to use confidential medical information to make arrests for things that an individual may have done in the past or that has done currently, even if it is not directly connected to their substance use. This also leads to lack of mistrust in the medical industry because many individuals do not want to admit to having a substance abuse issue or even using substances in general due to being put on the registry or having it used against them by law enforcement. Individuals in Russia with HIV, TB, and/or hepatitis are commonly discriminated against in the healthcare system. For example, if an individual with HIV were to go to a hospital for, let's say, further treatment regarding their substance use or even treatment in regards to any medical condition, are often treated unfairly, leading to further mistrust or lack of use of the medical industry. While doing research on the current state of Russia's drug crisis, the UN had no updated information regarding the use, trafficking, deaths, and HIV statistics for IV drug users in Russia. Russia was the only section of Asia that was not updated, with the most recent information being over 10 years old in 2006, before many of these policies were implemented. Russia was one of the countries a part of the UN Convention against illicit traffic in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, as discussed in class. Resolution 1 of this convention pertained to the data collection and sharing of drug-related data. Though Russia contains databases for drug addicts, they do not share information to other UN countries, making it difficult for the UN to help Russia in their drug crisis situation. The Global Commission Report 2018 that we discussed and read earlier in class discusses some recommendations on improving drug policies internationally. One of these recommendations is that treatment be given to those who are criminalized for the use of drugs or that use drugs in general, and in return shift from the criminalization of those using substances to treatment a more compassionate approach. They also recommend better indicators to measure progress of current policies. That way the UN can keep track of how other nations are doing in relation to their drug crisis and what policies may be implemented to improve the situation globally. Though it may sound like Russia is behind in its efforts to increase drug treatments and correct their drug crisis, we have to understand that every part of the world is affected differently by drugs, and that we need to understand their culture and how they got to where they are, as we have discussed for the United States. A lot of this ties back to the Soviet Union and their previous communist culture, and Russia is making efforts to move forward in their drug crisis situation. Thank you guys for watching. This has been a presentation on Russian drug policy. Here are all the references I used in relation to the photos in the presentation, as well as the readings that I got my facts from. Thank you.